Welcome to the Pink Dress Effect podcast. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kim.
And we are so excited to be here today. We have been talking about this podcast for probably 2 years. Yeah. Life, jobs, you name it, it's gotten in the way essentially. But we are here today and we're so excited to launch. We are finally at a place, I think, in our lives where we're ready.
Yes.
So we are hopefully going to make a difference in your lives. But I guess we should probably tell you a little bit about us first. So, Kim, why don't you start and tell our audience who you are?
Okay, listen, I won't tell a whole story, but I am a 50-plus woman who really came to a realization when I was about 46 that I wasn't really living my life as authentically as I thought that I had been living it. And it was like a literal light bulb came on. And I started kind of a process of dismantling all of my choices and decisions and how I was living my life and what I wanted my life to be for the rest of the time that I'm here. In case I live to 100 years old, look, I didn't want to spend, the next 50-something years not living my life on my own terms. And so I've been doing that process through the last 5 years or so, and I think I've learned a lot of lessons, and we've learned a lot together, and it was time to kind of put that out there, and maybe we can help other people with some of the lessons we've learned.
Yeah, I totally agree. I am 250 plus. God, it sounds so old, but it's not.
We're not old.
but it's crazy because we both often, all the time, right? People can't believe that we are our age, but, we do try to take care of ourselves and what have you. I have been divorced for many, many years. Single mom to an amazing kid, 21-year-old son who is the light of my life. But like Kim, I think that I think when I went through my divorce, that was a real growth moment for me. But I think that in the last 2 years especially, I've grown a lot. I changed a job that was a job I loved, but I think that it was taking everything I had, and I was giving it everything I had, and there was no time for me because I was a mom and my son's an athlete, and so all my time was devoted to others and not myself. And so in some ways I let myself go, and so my new opportunity that I took afforded me the time, and my son going to college, I think having that time to kind of look at myself and think about the things that I want in my life and the things that I need to change. And so I look back the last 2 years, we've often talked that maybe 2 years ago, if we would have done this, we wouldn't have been ready.
No, we wouldn't have been ready.
No, but
we wouldn't even have seen half the things that we needed to work on.
No, and I think, and I always say this to you, we can keep working, but we're going to work on ourselves until the day we die.
Yes.
And I know people in my life and in my circle and in my family, there are people, they get up every day and go through the motions, and then they start over the next day. Yeah. And I used to be that girl, and I'm not going to do that anymore.
No.
I want to live with purpose, meaning, and use every moment of my life that God has given me until the day I die and use it for good. And so I hope that this podcast will not only be beneficial for us and continued growth, but also for the folks that are listening and supporting us. And I do want to thank our friends and family who have supported us.
Yes.
Y'all know who you are.
Yes.
Everything in life starts with an idea or a dream or a thought. And oftentimes people don't go after what they desire, and they just die with them. Well, I don't want this to die with us.
No, it's never too late to live your dreams.
No, I mean, you read so many stories of how people that have started later in life and, I'm not this, I'm not that. No, you are who you are today. Do it. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, because look, you got to keep living. So you might as well do it. I mean, you know.
And I think you get one, right?
You get one life.
We get one life. And, oftentimes people stay in jobs that they're not fulfilled in, relationships, cities, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you should try to fix all that stuff. Like, I'm not a proponent of just running from your problems. You definitely have to fix it, and that's the only way you really grow. But you've got to be true to yourself. And if you're not, then you're just going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
And who wants that?
No. And we do, I have daughters, and I want to hopefully be an example for them. And I don't want them to have to wait to their 50-something to learn their lessons and to kind of get a sense of how to move through life in a way that's really being who you are.
I agree.
But on the same token, I also have learned a lot from my daughters as young women, and things that have made me stop and say, You know, so I think I raised them really well. I didn't always practice what I preached, but I did preach it. So,
well, I think, even with my son, he has called me out on some things, and I'll be like, wait a minute. Like, I'm thinking I'm the mama here, but it's the stuff I've taught him. Yeah. And I think he makes decisions in his life sometimes that are true for him. Right. And not worrying about other people, and has the confidence where I wanted to do that, but maybe I couldn't because I wanted to please people, where he doesn't have that. And I'm like, man, I've done something right.
Which takes us to, why is it the pink dress effect? Yes. It takes us right to that.
Yes,
right to
that people topic. Are like, pink dress?
Yeah, what is this about?
So I had a pink dress. I actually bought this cute little pink dress. Mm-hmm. I felt beautiful. I was going to an event. I went to this event expecting, I think, a response from someone that I didn't get. And it really bothered me. It bothered me for months. It was awful. And I called Kim, and she's trying to encourage me. But remember, I left the house and I felt great. Great, yeah. And I'd seen a lot of people I hadn't seen in about 6 months or so. They were super excited to see me, which I was happy about because I was happy to see them. But this particular situation bothered me. And, Kim reminded me that no, if I felt beautiful, right, or pretty or whatever, then that's how I felt. And I don't need anything from anybody. But deep inside, I didn't believe that. She bought me this necklace actually as a reminder for my birthday. But fast forward, the work I've continued to do on myself about almost 2 years. Went to the same event. Yeah. And, I went there and I felt good, but I didn't think that I needed anything from anybody this time. That was the difference, and I didn't realize it till afterwards. And Saturday it was like the next day, we were practicing our podcast. Yeah. And we were talking about the very thing, and we had to listen to ourselves again. Do you remember that?
I do.
And we listened to ourselves, and the whole time I'm like, I'm being triggered. Like, I literally was triggering myself, almost like I was listening to someone else. Were you triggered at all?
I wasn't triggered.
I wasn't. Triggered me, just that conversation. So that night I talked to one of my really good friends, and we talked about it, and he was very encouraging and all that stuff. But I believed what I said. I really did.
Yeah, no, I know.
I believed what I said, but I don't think in my heart I did. Yeah. And that next morning, it was Sunday, I was getting ready for church. I got up, and it just hit me. It was like God himself was sitting there saying, Shannon, it was never about anybody else. Yeah. No friends, nobody. It was about me, and I think my brokenness. And I think at that moment was when I finally really believed it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. Yeah. And like you said about your daughters, why are we 50 and just figuring this out? Like really believing it. We
really in your soul. Yes,
we
in your soul.
We believed it earlier, I think. But didn't really practice it, I don't.
Yeah, but sometimes I think that we can believe something in our heads and absolutely believe that it's true. And you don't, until something happens to really make it aware for you, to bring it to your consciousness, that it doesn't resonate in your heart. And so you'll be believing something, thinking you think it's true, but your actions aren't following that.
Right. And we always talk about authenticity, and I try to live an honest life. But,
right.
But I did believe it when I said it, but it was weird. The next day I woke up, and I think the conversation, the event, just all the talking with you, just the growth, I woke up Sunday morning and I was like, wait a minute. None of this ever had anything to do with that person or any experience. It had to do with me and like what I was believing for myself. Because at the end of the day, right, if you think something, you should believe it, like within yourself, especially positive things. Right,
and you should be living your life in that way. You should be acting to follow those thoughts.
And so hence the pink dress effect, right? We can all have that moment, men, women, children, it doesn't matter, right? We've all had that moment where we don't feel good enough for whatever reason. And so that pink dress, to this day when I look at it, and I wore it again for our photos, because it just signifies that wow, like the
you
growth.
Are enough,
and we are enough.
You're enough, just as God made you. And I think for my family, one of our biggest things was that you had to present yourself a certain way in public. And so you really learned to carry yourself. And it's really about, carrying yourself and how you present yourself. And you don't do this in public. You don't do that in public. And so you really start kind of censoring yourself about what's okay. And how it's okay to be. And so I think for me, a lot of it probably stemmed from that. There's a certain way that you are. And so that automatically means maybe you aren't being like
your
true to who you
environment,
are.
right? It's the way you're raised, but then at some point you figure years and years and years, and then society tells you should do this, this, and this. And we've talked before about Cosmo and glamour during our time, right? You know, you got to look this way.
Yeah.
You've got to be perfect. You got to do, and if you're not, then you're not good enough, if you will. And so you start believing all that stuff. Meanwhile, you don't even know who you are anymore because you're trying to follow this.
You've let the world tell you who you are, and your family, your friends, everybody's telling you who you are, and you forget along the way.
Right, exactly. And I know where our age is, and like some of my friends in their 40s, like kind of where we are. Often, all of them actually, every single one of my friends. Even one of my good friends who's an introvert recently was like, I think I'm going to go to therapy. And I'm like, why? Like all this stuff from wherever, back then is coming up, right? And they want to fix it.
Yeah.
But maybe we didn't have time to really reflect because we were raising our kids, work, society, right? We had to have the house, but like at the end of the day, did we even have to have all that stuff?
No, but I think social media has a lot to do with it too.
Oh,
because
today.
Yeah, it's so much more acceptable. Well, social media. right. I wasn't going that direction, but that's true.
Yeah.
You have the added pressure of social media telling you who you should be. But I really think and
those people aren't even who they are because there's filters.
No, because it's not all of social media. You put your best self out there.
Yeah, of course.
And everybody sees you looking your best self, and that's who they think you are, and that's what your life is. But that's not the reality of things. But really, where I was going was that it's much more acceptable now to go to therapy.
Right.
And people talk about it. And so you see more and more people choosing to do that. But there was a time when it just really wasn't acceptable.
Oh, it was terrible. And I know I've even heard my own family say it. So like, but I think it's important. I think it's good to get someone else's opinion. Not even opinion. They don't really talk. But to
just look at you.
Right, but they might ask you triggering questions that might help you go here or go there or whatever. And I look forward to it. I mean, I'm not ashamed. I think it's great.
No, I've done therapy through the years, and we'll probably be going again soon.
There's nothing wrong with me. You, right?
I need a tweak. I need a few tweaks, Shannon.
But that's okay, though, because I think
is.
that as we grow, like we've talked about, you continue to grow until you die, and it's up to you to decide what to do with that. You can just stay stagnant and just go through the motions till you die, or you can actually live your most authentic, best version of your life. And I think that's really why we were put on this earth.
Yeah. And you know what? When you stop telling yourself lies, and when you really have a good, hard look at who you are, then that shakes things up a little bit, because you have to realize, you have to look at kind of the good things about yourself, but also maybe the things that aren't so, I won't say good. There are opportunities for growth.
That's right. Well, one of the things that I've struggled with, and I think that I've kind of overcome this year, with the help of a friend, really, a relationship, well, multiple things probably, but just, I am a talker, and everybody knows me, I'm a talker. But one of the things I've struggled with is speaking up my truth, kind of. And sometimes I'll just listen, or if I'm feeling some kind of way, probably goes back to my childhood.
Yeah.
You don't speak up because you don't want to ruffle feathers, that people pleaser, if you will. And then meanwhile, it builds and it builds and builds. And then you start feeling really bad because you're not living your truth.
Yeah.
And so it's this vicious cycle. And then one day I just kind of like spewed it all out.
Yeah, because you start resenting people.
You do because then you're miserable. And I think it goes back to even when I was married and all that stuff. And that's probably was miserable then. And now I speak up all the time. Yeah. And, I've even had family members be like, oh, we know you speak up. But it was kind of hurtful at first. And then it was kind of like I am loud. I do talk a lot. That's who God made me. And why should I shrink that? That's part of what makes me special. And when you have people, even family members, tell you that, finally in the last couple of weeks, I've actually been like, I am loud when they've said it. I have had it said to me twice, probably in the last 3 weeks. And I was like...
Yeah, I was so proud of you. When I just heard you on the phone talking to someone, and I was like, look at you.
And I was like, and I literally told this person who's one of the most important people in my life, I was like, well... He he was like, I didn't mean it that way. And I was like, well, I'm serious. Like, if you don't like it, then, well,
that's who I am.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
And so then it started making me think, like, I've probably been attacked for who I am since I was a little girl having my desk moved in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
And I refused to allow that to happen to my own child, who's a talker, right?
Yes.
But I went in there and fixed it, you know, but my parents didn't, right? And there's no blame. It's just, it was a different generation, a different time, because that is who he fundamentally is. This is who I fundamentally am. And I don't need anybody to tell me I'm loud and I talk too much. I already know that, and it's okay.
Yeah, and you're not too much. You know, you're perfect just as you are. But maybe
that's a lie that I told myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I've kind of kept it down, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. And I try to think about, like, what are the lies that I've told myself? That I had to be perfect, you know, and move through life in a way that everything is just right.
Yep.
And that's a big lie to tell yourself, because it's not possible to keep that up.
No.
Yeah, but you and so you end up in this endless pursuit of perfection.
But how exhausting, right?
How exhausting.
I remember being in a room one time with these people that I knew that it was a facade, right? And I'm like, it must be exhausting to be that fake, right? I mean, like,
hey, but I wasn't fake. I wasn't fake.
No, I
wasn't fake.
No, I know you're not fake. No, you wouldn't be my friend if you were fake. But like putting on that persona of what everybody else thinks you should be, that's what I really mean. Not necessarily fake, but, and then you get home and you just imagine these people like, whew. Yeah. But like, just be yourself, and the people that love you and the people that are supposed to be in your life will be in your life.
But you know what, Shannon? Look, let's think about that for a minute. So I guess, you know, it really kind of is fake in a way. It's not, you know, if you're living your life in a way that you think that other people want you to live your life.
Yeah, that's fake.
Then it's fake.
It is fake.
Yeah, you've triggered me. I'm triggered. I'm triggered.
Well, that's good, because that just means we're going to be even better, you know? But you're right. That is a good way to look at it. So if I'm not loud and talkative, well, then I'm fake. Yeah. Because I am loud and talkative. That's a great point.
Yeah. And I never really thought about it. We have to think more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I am really, I'm not doing that as much now.
That's awesome.
Because I think I'm finally learning the lessons about just showing up as I am. But it is hard to speak up for yourself.
It's very hard, because the reactions you're going to get from other people.
Yes.
I've had one negative and one very positive that I didn't expect. So it's been great.
Yeah, and people don't like it when you start speaking up. They really don't, especially if you haven't been doing that.
Yeah, because they've gotten used to you being that person that just takes it.
and takes it.
And takes it. And then at what cost? I'm done.
Yeah. And the cost is you.
It's you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why you see a lot of people, you know, as they kind of, you know, hit the stage of life that we're at, and you're kind of tired of taking it. You don't want to take it anymore. No. And you start looking, okay, what am I going to do different? And you've had enough.
Enough, exactly. Yeah. And then you do the work and you start a podcast. And,
and how do we take that? And so, you know, we kind of know the lies that we've told ourselves and kind of some of the reasons why we do those things. But how do you stop yourself from falling back into old patterns?
Boundaries. And I struggle with that. Boundaries.
Oh, who doesn't?
Right, but boundaries, you know, you teach people how they can treat you.
Yes, you do.
And so having those boundaries in place to protect yourself, being around people that support you, being around people who bring life into your life.
Yes. Mutually giving relationships.
Yes. It can't be just one-sided.
Yeah.
And if it's one-sided, you're going to get sucked dry. That's just, and often these people they're not taking to be rude. They're good people.
It's human nature.
Just, you have to look at yourself and say, okay, what do I need? And I deserve to have things too. And it's not just about, it's that mutually exclusive kind of transaction. And when it's going smooth, right, your life, I think, is better.
Yeah. And you can be kinder to people, and because you're not living in a way where you're resentful and you're angry because you're suppressing all of your needs to kind of meet what other people need you to be. Yeah. So when you can't give of yourself because you want to and because you're happy to and you're happy to share yourself, that's not good for you or for them.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I'm at a point where I'm like, I am a giver too, and you have to be careful not to overgive, but then it's like, you know what, I give because I might love you or care about you and I want to do something kind for you, I'm not going to stop being who I am.
Right.
That's something that makes me special.
You're an amazing giver. You are.
Well, thank you.
Very thoughtful.
But I want people to think of me too, right?
Yeah.
That care about me. And it's
Yeah.
not about like a actual gift. It's time or just a nice compliment or just a chat. You know, it could be a walk.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything crazy, right?
But we talked earlier too, and so just like the kind of, you know, I was triggered with the fake piece of things.
Sorry.
But also, no, that's good because that's what this show will be about. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
So we're going to share, we're going to learn, we're going to grow, we're going to all do this together, and we're going to be supportive of one another.
Yes.
But we talked about giving and questioning yourself. So yes, you're a beautiful giver. You're always so thoughtful. But what's the why behind you give? If you are giving with an expectation of something in return,
right.
that might not be the best time to give. You want to
Right.
be giving just from a place of, you know, you love that person and you, so just kind of thinking about why you do the things you do.
Yeah, right, absolutely, because you can overdo things, right? You can
Yeah. I mean,
overdo
throughout
so
my
many
career,
things.
I've done it, and I'm in a stage now where I'm pulling back from things because I did overgive, and
It depleted you, though,
it
right?
depleted me.
Yeah.
The cost was me.
Yeah, and that's not life.
No.
And I think I was in a
No.
role before that I did the same thing. And, you know, now I'm in a role that's not like that. And, you know, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, it's such a shock because you gave so much. And now you have some time to be with yourself. And it's uncomfortable sometimes, you know? I mean, I like myself, but it's uncomfortable because it gives you that opportunity to, those thoughts start popping in where you can kind of start working on yourself and why was I being that way, even though I was good at it. But again, but at what cost?
That's the problem. That's the problem. We're so good at what we do that people just take it and take and take, and then we want that validation, and we're earning respect and admiration and all those things.
Yeah.
And it's up to us, like you said earlier, we have to set the boundary because, you know, people, they're not going to do it out of, you know, being mean. They're just trying to get their needs met.
No. And do you feel better? You've created some boundaries or pulling back a little bit? Has it been a little bit of a struggle at all?
It has been a struggle because I continuously have to kind of shift back to why I'm doing something.
Gotcha.
And making sure that the reason behind why I'm doing it feels good to me and isn't going to cause me to sacrifice myself.
That's awesome.
And then you get the best of me.
That's awesome. But isn't that what we're supposed to live for? I think,
I want people to have the best of me. And I want to be the best.
You want to be the best of you, because then when you're the best of yourself, I think that's when you attract all the best things for yourself.
Yes.
The people, the experiences. And to me, that's life, right? I mean, isn't that what we all want?
Yeah, well, that's what we all want. All right, so it's been a great conversation, but we do have a question from the audience, and I want to.
Okay.
Let's see what we can do with this.
Our first question.
Yeah. Hi, Shannon and Kim. I'm in my mid-20s, and I still find myself comparing my life to my peers, whether it's my career, romantic life, or my appearance. I constantly feel the need to prove something to others. So my question to you both is, how do I redefine success for myself rather than measuring it by other standards?
Wow. She was how old? 20?
20s.
Wow. It's that social media, I bet, in a lot of ways. All those reels, everybody looks perfect. Everybody looks great. Everybody's got beautiful clothes, beautiful hair, beautiful, all of that.
Yeah.
And I would probably.
So how do you measure success? How do you measure success when you're a young woman?
I don't know. Just maybe make a list of some of the accomplishments that you've had. Did you go to college? Did you graduate? Yes. Do you have great friends? Yes. Do you have a loving family? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a house or live in an apartment? Whatever
Gratitude.
Yeah, just be thankful for what you have. And I know it's hard, but I would probably take a little bit of a break from social media. It's hard because I love it too, but you start reading stuff and then with whatever you're going on in your life or about someone or whatever, and you start believing that stuff. And I think sometimes you got to take a step back from that because, again, we're all putting our highlight reel up there, and sometimes it's a facade, really.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what people are going through in their relationships or their selves or whatever, because people don't put that out there.
No. And comparison is really like just it's a thief of joy.
Right. Isn't that what they say? Yeah.
It really is, because you have your life.
Yeah.
And that's the life that you've been given to live. And if you want someone else's life, you're going to have to take everything else that they've gone through. And you don't know what that is. No, and you might not want that.
That's a great point.
Right. So focus on your life.
Yep.
And even no matter where you are in life, sometimes it's going to take longer to get to places than other people have, because there's a different purpose for their life that doesn't have anything to do with you.
Right.
And so just focus on yourself.
Yeah.
And stop looking at other people.
And it's not always easy, but I mean, I'm sure you've all seen that analogy. It's like this mountain, or it's I don't even know if it's a mountain. It's an iceberg, I think. And it's, and then the water. And then under the water, it's this huge iceberg. It's an iceberg. And so you see the little peak, right? And that's what people look at success or the perfect relationship, the perfect house, the perfect kids, and all that. But underneath is all this, struggle, dropped out of school, divorce, sickness, poverty.
Yeah. All the bad stuff.
Yeah. But you don't see that. And so you have to sometimes stop and just think that everybody has something they're going through. They're just not going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And so really just try to, as hard as it can be sometimes, it's just, and especially in your 20s, I don't want you 20s to be tough. Struggling when you're my age, right? Like get really try to be grateful and look at your accomplishments and be proud of yourself.
And give yourself patience and give yourself grace and time. Your 20s, you don't know everything that you want to do. I think a lot of your 20s is spent doing what other people want you to do.
Probably. I mean, I still have people in my family trying to tell me what I should do. And it's like, wait a minute, we get one life.
You're like, I'm 50.
Exactly.
Stop telling me what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because maybe they were afraid to take a risk or what have you, right?
Yeah. And now we have so many more opportunities. We can take risks.
We do. And I think just not being afraid, but I think I always used to say, do it despite the fear. I would tell my son. Like, it's always scary. This is scary. Yeah. Like, we're putting ourselves out there. I mean.
Anything important I've done in life, I've been terrified.
It's scary, but then it's like, you do it one time, and then you do it another time, and before you know it, you're an old pro at it, and you look back, and you're like, I did it, and you're not afraid anymore. So do it despite the fear. Stop comparing yourself, I would say. It's not easy. And then surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yes.
Maybe
positive people.
Maybe you have the wrong friends.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? If they're all comparing each other to, ooh, that's stressful to me. I don't want friends like that.
We don't have friends like that.
We don't. No. I'm not going to have friends like that at this point in my life. I'm sure at some point I did, but not now.
Yeah, I know I did. But I've always kept my friend circle pretty tight.
Yeah, you've been better.
I don't let people in too much.
Yeah, you didn't barely let me in. But one of Kim's daughters did tell me she's glad she kept me around. It was sweet. I still have the card. I kept it on my fridge. Yeah, it makes me feel good. So well, Kim, we did it.
We did it. First episode.
I know. We've been talking about it for so long, and I feel really good about it. I'm excited about it. We're going to continue to grow and keep getting better. But we do ask that you follow us and like us, share us.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. And we're going to be on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. And so we are so excited, as we talked about many times. We're looking forward to our next episode. We'll hope you join us. That will launch on December 25th.
And Christmas Day.
So we decided we wanted to talk about family drama and the holidays. We'll have some good pieces too.
Yeah. Because it's not all good. Not all dramas.
But there's never a holiday without some family drama now. There's always one little bit. There's always one person. But we were going to talk a little bit about that on the 25th.
Yeah. And how do you navigate that? We'll be positive, a positive spin on it. How do you navigate it?
Because that's one of the things I think with our podcast that we want to bring. We just want to bring love, light, and joy into your life. And so, so we're super excited. I think Kim wants to end today's episode with a quote.
I do.
From Brene Brown.
All right. The truth is, belonging starts with self-acceptance. Your level of belonging, in fact, can never be greater than your level of self-acceptance, because believing that you're enough is what gives you the courage to be authentic, vulnerable, and imperfect.
That's awesome.
Perfect way to end.
That is a perfect way to end. And we're looking forward to our next episode. Yeah. And like I said, continue to get better and better each time.
Yep.
We wanted to also thank Station Square for the use of this beautiful studio. It's so beautiful, and we couldn't be doing this without them.
They've been so supportive.
We look forward to seeing you all on the 25th of December. In the meantime, have a great week.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us.